Thinking too much is literally keeping you stuck. You replay the same idea, the same what if, until you basically talk yourself out of even trying in the first place. You convince yourself that maybe you need more time, more clarity, information, whatever it may be, but you convince yourself that it's still not the right time to begin. And then the more you look into it, the more confused you get. Because that's the moment when you find that everyone has something different to say. One person might say that fasting is absolutely incredible, and it makes them feel like they've got an abundance of energy for the entire day, while the other person will feel awful and just get a headache because, well, they needed the nutrients. The reason why you don't feel sure about what you're doing isn't because you're uninformed, it's because you're over-informed. And you can't just think your way into clarity, you have to act your way into it. I want to show you some simple ways how you can tackle overthinking to finally get things moving and finally make that start. Look, because of how things are these days with mobile phones, we see so much of everything. And part of that overthinking comes from that. You're seeing everything everywhere. And the chances are, the thing that you want to start, or the thing that you're embarrassed about, you've seen it online before. Someone else do it great for that matter. So your brain starts thinking, it starts to create noise, but it doesn't have any real data. It only has comparison to what you've seen rather than what you've done. And you can't just think your way through something you've never done before. That's why the first step is the most important, and is to take imperfect action. Not 5 actions, not a full detailed plan, not another list, just one small thing that's going to push you forward. Chances are you've already done some research, whether you Googled it, YouTubed it, whatever. You found someone that, seems to know what they're talking about. So just follow what they said and just try it. Maybe you found a certain bodybuilder, tells you to train that way, go for it. Maybe you found a investor to do these stocks, go for it. Maybe you found some sort of e-commerce expert to build your store this way, run your ads that way, go for it. Just try and see what happens. Because chances are it's not going to go well whether you do a ton of research or not, because it's your first time. But now that you're going to take that first step, and whether it goes well or wrong, your brain has actual real data to work with, rather than just the shit it just keeps seeing everywhere. On your phone, on billboards, on TV, it's up here now, what you've done. So now you can compare to your last try, rather than someone else's 10-year career they've been doing it forever in, okay? Because now you've replaced uncertainty with feedback. For step number 2, we're going to shrink our focus. Overthinking can also happen when you're staring too far ahead into the horizon, trying to think of too many variables, trying to create too much of a detailed plan when you don't actually even know what the beginning stages are going to be. What's going to happen? Is it going to go well? Is it going to go bad? You can't plan too far ahead in everything, because that's like trying to control outcomes that haven't even arrived yet. And I understand being proactive is always going to be better than being reactive, but we can't predict and control everything. So instead of asking yourself, what if I fail? Ask yourself, what's the next move? You don't need a massive 5-year plan. You just need a quick 5-minute decision. Because the truth is that the next step that you take may be a waste of time, or it may just not be as optimal as it could have been, or it could have been the best decision you've ever made in your life. You don't know that, and you will never know that until you go for it. Because the way I see it is this: if I take a step forward in something, let's say in my clothing business, and I fail, I lose some money, I get messed around, whatever, I could sit there dwelling on it, or I could take it as at least a half win, because now I know what not to do. Now I know who not to associate with. Now I know where not to pour my energy into. So I know it's not the most ideal outcome, but it's also not the worst one either. But that entirely depends on your perspective of the situation. For step number 3, we're going to detach from the result and just stop thinking about the finish line. Because another part of this is also perfectionism, and perfectionism creates overthinking. Of course, you don't want to just half-ass things and just get subpar results. I know you're better than that, and I know you're going to want to perform. You're going to want to do it well. But then there's wanting to do well, and then there's wanting to do perfect. And one is rarely ever obtainable, if just ever at all. Because I think that perfect is actually a bit of a trap that we kind of ourselves make up or try to sell to one another. Because as you're working on something, maybe even you finishing it, you will spot something. I think you will very likely spot something you'll want to change along the way or after it's done. But when you originally thought of it, to you it was perfect. And now you already wanted to make changes. So is perfect the idea that you've got in your head? Or is perfect something that we attain by just trying and changing and altering throughout? It's like a process where you just kind of do one thing and you do it again, but better, but differently, but faster, but more efficiently. And you just kind of keep going and going and going. And I don't think you will ever actually reach perfect. You just reach the end result. That's your vision. I don't think perfect exists. And what does all of that mean? It means is that the more you work on it, the more clarity you create for yourself. Because as you're thinking about it, you think this is a great idea. And you actually get to it and you think, oh, I could change that, I could alter this, I could edit that there. All of a sudden, you're getting clarity through action. It's kind of like driving through fog. You don't wait for the entire road to clear up, do you? You just take steady, or well, at least I hope you do, and you just drive. And as you move forward, the path just kind of, well, it just literally reveals itself. The same goes with working on things, starting a new sport, learning a new skill. It's just fog everywhere. But the more you move forward, the more that just gets revealed. I used to overthink a ton. And it's only really in the recent years I've realized how much it actually held me back. Typical story really. I just thought I needed to have everything figured out. You know, you just spend time planning, organizing, redoing. But then you kind of learn over time that no one has everything figured out, ever. Everyone just kind of goes through things and goes through lives, figuring things out as they go along. Obviously, don't get me wrong, I still plan to this day, but it's very different to how I used to plan back in the day. Because now, my plans are actually followed by actions, rather than just more thinking and more optimizing. But yeah, I really do wish I could tell my younger self to just get on with it, man. Because you're going to figure out more by doing than thinking. It's pretty interesting how it all works, really. Because the less you care, the more you do. And then the more you do, the more you realize how bad or uninformed you actually are. But at least I was doing and trying. And that in itself felt pretty good. And I really do believe that that's the real power of action, is that it gives you real answers. It really is something you just have to experience, but multiple times, because just once or twice will not be enough. So it's going to be a pretty constant effort. But once you get used to it, get used to this moving forward, you're never going to want to just sit back ever again. That is something I can't guarantee. So, what's the main takeaway from all of this? I would say 3 things. First one is that you can't think yourself into the perfect plan. Number 2, clarity will never come from thinking. It will come from action. And for number 3, start messy, start unsure, whatever. But just make a start. Because when you do, you'll realize that fog clears up with every single step. And as always, I wish you the best of luck, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.